Hi, this is Tim Yoder with Fit Small Business. Today I'm evaluating Zoho Books for Chapter 1 of the Fit Small Business case study. So we're just basically setting up the basic information for our company. So I've already signed up for a 14-day free trial of Zoho Books. I've created the company. It basically asked me the company name and a few basic pieces of information. So to get started here, let's go over to our cogwheel, our settings, and we can click then our organizational profile. So I've gone through here and I've answered the question. So I gave it a name, industry, entity type, our address, phone number, etc. Okay, here we are able to give it our fiscal year of January through December. Here we are able to mark that we are on the accrual basis. Okay, and that's our basic company information. Let's flip over to our scorecard here. That was all very easy. So company information, address, telephone number, email, entity type, fiscal year end. We have not found locations and classes yet, so we're going to leave that blank. Okay, now let's start looking at our chart of accounts. So the case study gives us a very simple chart of accounts along with opening balances. So if we go back over here to our cogwheel and let's try opening balances, but we might have to, we may want to adjust our chart of accounts first. So let's see. Let's go back to our dashboard here and see where we can find our chart of accounts. Probably under accountant. Yeah, here we go. So chart of accounts. Oh, you know what? Another thing we wanted to do was actually let's set up our beginning balances first. So our chart of accounts. Okay. Looks like they don't use an account code, which is fine with me. They were important back when we had manual bookkeeping systems. I don't think they're as important with computerized systems. Okay, so our chart of accounts needs to have a cash on hand, petty cash. We'll use petty cash. That's fine. We need a checking account. How are these things ordered? uh, Trying to come up with some sense as to how they ordered these things. Okay, so it looks like, okay, assets then liabilities. Okay. Oh, they have an undeposited funds account. That will be interesting when we deal with invoicing. They do not have a checking account, so let's create a new account for our checking account. Okay. Save. It's important that when we create a checking account, we designate it as a bank account because it'll probably let us connect it electronically to our bank account later. We also need a savings account. So new account, bank, savings account. It was very easy to set them up. Very nice. So we need an accounts receivable. I'm sure they already have that as a system account. Yes, so when you see the little lock like this, that generally means it's a system account. Inventory. So I'm not seeing an inventory account, but I know they have inventory accounting. So let's go back up here to our. I think we need to activate our inventory accounting. Preferences maybe. Yeah, so here's modules we want to use. We're going to want to use sales orders and purchase orders. Now, enable Zoho inventory modules. Now, we don't want to add Zoho. So this case study is evaluating just Zoho Books, what it can do on its own. Zoho inventory is an add-on. Okay, let's go to items. Items are closely related to inventory. Here we go. Enable inventory tracking. I think this is what we're going to need. Inventory start date. So we are starting at the beginning of this year. Okay. Sure, we want an out of stock warning. Okay, good. So this is just the inventory stuff it can do within Zoho Books without integrating with Zoho Inventory. Okay, so now if we go back to our accountant and our chart of accounts, now I'm thinking we'll probably have an inventory account. Let's refresh, make sure this is current. I'm still not seeing an inventory account. Okay, I figured there would be a system account, but let's go ahead and add it. Now hopefully, cash, bank, fixed assets, stock. Yeah, we don't want to add it as any of those because it needs to know that it's an inventory account. Okay, I tell you what, I'm going to take a little leap of faith here and assume that somehow it must have an inventory account somewhere. We may have to deal with it later on, but we don't have a beginning balance in inventory, so I'm not going to create one because I know it's got to be a system account or it's not going to work properly. So we may have to address it later when we start trying to work with inventory. Okay, we need an equipment account and a vehicles account. Those are fixed assets, so we have a equipment account. Let's add an account for vehicles. Okay, easy enough. We need an accumulated depreciation account. A little surprised they don't have one of those, but we will create one. Okay. We need an accounts payable account. Should be a system account for that, I would think. Tax payable. Yeah, there we go. There is their system account for accounts payable. A credit card payable, so we need a credit card account. Again, let's set that up manually here. There we go, credit card. That should allow us to hook it up electronically by designating it as a credit card type. Okay, we need a loan payable. Okay, put that as an other liability. Okay, then a common stock, they might have something. See, in their equity, they have retained earnings, owner's equity, opening balance, drawing account. Okay, well, we need a common stock account and an additional paid-in capital account. So these are all locked. Can we change the name? So retained earnings, we want that, but then we also want a common stock and an additional paid-in capital. Can we change owner's equity? Okay, yes, we're able to change the name of that one, and then I think we just need to add another one for additional paid-in capital. So it's going to be an equity account. Okay, so I think we've modified our chart of accounts now. So now the next task, actually, so before we go away from here, I'd like to know if we could import a chart of accounts. So if we had a very small chart of accounts, but if you have a larger one, you might want to import it. There we go. Import chart of accounts. Excellent. Okay, let's do our scorecard. To modify the chart of accounts, can we import the chart of accounts? Yes, we can. Okay, so now we want to input our beginning balances. I do believe there's actually a place to do that in our settings, is where I saw it. Opening balances. Okay, we can actually import. This is cool. So your accounts receivable and accounts payable, the detail of any opening balances is really important. Just to make things a little easier, I don't have any opening accounts receivable or accounts payable. Let's go into our asset accounts. Oh, look at that. I really like this. Debits, credits. Okay, so cash on hand, $1,000. Checking account, $10,000. Now what happened to the checking account we created? Oh, they're down here in bank accounts. Checking account, 10,000. Savings account, 150,000. Okay. Fixed assets. Furniture and equipment, 75,000. Vehicle, 60,000. Accumulated depreciation is a credit of 115,000. Okay. Credit card payable will be in our liabilities. That is a credit of 6,000. Okay, our common stock will be 1,000. Our additional paid-in capital will be 20,000. And our retained earnings should be 154,000. And if we've entered everything in right, then we shouldn't have an opening balance offset. Oh, there we go. See, right here, total, no opening balance adjustment. Perfect. Continue. Confirm. Everything balances. Looks fantastic. Oh, and right up here, notice we can import our opening balances. So that's handy, again, if you have a huge chart of accounts where we just have a small one, so we did it manually. Confirm. Opening balances have been saved. Ensured all new transactions. Okay. Excellent. Let's do our scorecard. Input the beginning balances. Yes, very easy. We could also import them if we wanted to. Okay, now we've brought in our books. Now we want to try to close our books so that nobody can make changes prior to the current year. So under account, I thought I saw something like that. Transaction locking, perhaps? So I'm back. I've done a little research on how to lock the transactions for the prior period. I think I was actually in the right spot. I just didn't quite see it. So let's go to the accountant features, transaction locking. Down here at the bottom, we can lock all transactions at once. Okay, and now we can click lock, and I think we can give it a date. Lock date. So let's see, transactions recorded before this date will be locked. So before this date, so I think we want to put beginning of the year. Reason would be lock prior period. Okay, there we go. Perfect. So we were able to do that. Let's see where that leaves us here. Close the books. Okay, we want to add a prior user and restrict the rights. Not prior user. Add an additional user and then be able to restrict the rights of that additional user. So the case study wants us to add essentially an accounts payable clerk, so they can only deal with the accounts payable features. So I believe that was over here in our settings, users and roles. So let's invite a user. We'll just make up an email address here, janedoe@whatever.com. Okay, and so we would like Jane to handle our accounts payable. So let's see if they have a specific role for that. Assigned customers only. Okay, so we have staff, timesheet staff, and assigned customers only. Well, let's see. Access to all modules except reports, settings, and accountant. Okay, what about timesheet? Assigned customers only. Access to all modules, transactions, and data of assigned customers and all vendors except reports. Okay, so here, if we don't assign any customers, we will be they'll have access to all the vendors. So that should be okay. So we'll click send, and okay, good. So that should do it. Okay, I think that should limit them to what we want. So we will add an additional user was fine. Restrict rights of the additional user. Okay, so the only thing we have left here for chapter 1 is the class and location tracking. So let me do a little bit of research. I don't think that Zoho Books will quite do this, but there's another alternative. So let me do a little research. Okay, yes, so just as I thought. So they don't use what they call classes and locations like QuickBooks uses. They use custom tags. And so see if we can find those, probably under the options here. And I think they'll work exactly the same. They'll just be more flexible. Okay, where are they at here? Here we go, reporting tags. So we can create a new tag, and within the tag, let's call this first one class. And our options for class is plumbing, HVAC, and admin. So that's our first, so that's our class tracking. And then we can also do one for location. And our location will be either New York. Let me glance at the case study. What was the second one? We wanted locations for New York and Delaware. Okay, so there we go. So they're not called class and location, it's reporting tags, but you can create your own. You can do whatever you want. Let's see if we could create a third one if we wanted. We could. Okay, well, very good. So that's even more flexible than classes and locations, and QuickBooks does exactly the same thing. Very cool. So, for general basic information, Chapter 1, Zoho Books has scored a perfect score. Very good. Excited to do Chapter 2 and 3 now for Zoho Books. So that was Chapter 1 of the Fit Small Business case study for Zoho Books.